Now, the first day, 100 days of any administration serves as the foundation for the developmental strides expected from such government. In Edo State, Governor Okpebholo has been seen, according to the members of his party and supporters, they say the governor has been seen taking decisive steps in different areas of the state's development, but opposition party begs to differ. Now, joining me to discuss this is the Secretary to Edo State Government, Umaru Musa Ihilo. He joins me live from Abuja studio. Good to have you join us, Mr. Ihilo.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so let's begin with what would you say, or how would you say the governor's administration has gone so far? 100 days, some people would say, for some people it's too short to assess anything, but for others, there is a popular proverb in Africa that a masquerade that would dance well begins from the first step. So how would you say the governor has done so far?
Thank you very much. I will take it from your reference of that African proverb to also mention that sometimes it is from Wednesday that you know how the weekend is going to be. So yes, 100 days may be too short to do a lot of assessment, but it's very indicative of the seriousness of any government and its intentionality for developmental projects and agenda to benefit the people. And I believe that within this first 100 days, Senator Monday Okpebholo, the executive governor of Edo State, has demonstrated very convincingly to Edo people and those outside Edo people that he means business, he means development, and he has done a lot, unimaginable. Some of these issues that couldn't be achieved in 2 years by the former administration, through 3 years, he was able to achieve within these first 100 days. And we are going to be talking about some of them later on. So this is just a benchmark for assessing his developmental stride. And we have a roadmap to carrying out all our agenda. We have an agenda and we have a roadmap to measure ourselves, against some of these benchmarks. One of them is this first 100 days. And then there is going to be the first year in office. After that, there will be the 2 years before the pre-election year. So we already have this roadmap marked out very clearly, and we are following it very meticulously.
From what I hear from you, because I know that the formative days of the scrutiny of the formative days of any administration is usually the fiercest, but you think that the governor has been able to set in motion his vision and some of the campaign promises he made to effect change in Edo State?
Yes, I mean, it was very clear. Like I said, we have an agenda. There are 5 points agenda, and we have what we call the Project Shine, which summarizes our slogan, "A New Edo Has Risen." That Project Shine is SHINE, Shine, which of course represents Edo shining. The S is for security, the H is for health, the I there is for infrastructural development, the N is for natural resources and agriculture, and then the E, of course, is for education, for empowerment and human capacity development. So if you look at each of these areas, we have done more than enough, within this first 100 days. If you take the first one, security, the governor demonstrated his willingness and ability to restore order and public safety, within the state. When we just came in, there was a lot of court rivalries, court killings, and within the first few weeks, he adopted certain strategies, both kinetic and non-kinetic, that restored order in the city of Benin and stopped the court killing that was going on in the city. And by the time the Christmas came, everywhere was very calm, everywhere was peaceful, which was quite unusual. And a lot of people testified that this last December happened to be one of the most peaceful and secured Christmas ever celebrated in Benin City. We have a lot of testimonies on this. So This is part of what we are doing with security. He purchased and procured a lot of brand new Hilux vehicles to confront criminal gangs and chase them and smoke them out of their hiding places. Before now, the past administration used to provide rickety Toyota Siennas, fairly used ones, but the governor decided that our security agencies need equipment, and so he procured over 75 brand new Toyota Hilux that he is giving to all the security agencies, the police, the army, the DSS, and other security agencies, including the Edo State Security Corps, which the governor overhauled, revalidated, and then mopped up a lot of illegal guns that were in circulation that was contributing to the insecurity we were experiencing. Over 5,000 illegal weapons were mopped up, and a revalidation process was, carried out, and some of those who qualified brought back in, and they are doing a lot with
Mr. Hilo, let's stay on security, because the opposition party, of course, the PDP, which is the main opposition party, thinks that what you're saying doesn't represent, what they are experiencing. They say on one hand, whilst the governor has succeeded in enacting the cultism prohibition law in Edo State, and then you say he has also now sort of reinvigorated the Edo State Security Corps. But they say that the accusation from them is that the governor has now brought in thugs into that security corps, and that around the Ring Road, urban market area, if I just main markets in Benin, you find that this security corps, and who they call thugs, are harassing market women in the state.
Well, that is not the case. The PDP can delude themselves. They were the ones actually who recruited a lot of thugs. Before now, under the last administration, the criteria for recruiting persons into the Edo State Security Corps was that each person must come with a gun. And there was no question about how that gun was obtained, whether it was legal or illegal. So we had a lot of non-state actors armed, and many of them were, belonged to various courts, and that is what increased the rate of insecurity in the state just before the elections. If you remember very well, some of these members of the XY band Edo State Security Corps were responsible for the killing of a police inspector before the election, and that is why the Inspector General of Police had to place a ban. So what we did was to sanitize the system that PDP was operating. We recalled a lot of the illegal weapons. We mopped up over 5,000 of them, revalidated the corps members, and ensured that whoever was now being recruited into the corps are responsible Edo citizens, attested by their various local governments, their heads of their local governments, their traditional rulers, and their communities, to say these persons are from our community, we know them, they are responsible, and not criminal gangs who operate under the cover of state's security apparatus. So Governor Okpebholo has actually sanitized the system from where he inherited it.
So who then is in charge of revenue collection in Edo State, especially from market women and artisans?
Well, the Edo Internal Revenue Service, EIRS, is in charge of that. There is a system we met in place, and we have adopted that system and, issued a statement and a circular that we are going to be adopting that system and upgrading it. And that's what we are currently doing. So the collection of revenue, both from the transportation sector and other sector, is digitized. Sometimes POS is used, sometimes it's a scratch card, sometimes it's an e-wallet, And what we did was to organize the system so that every association that operates within each sector, in the transportation sector, for example, you have the NURTW, you have the return, and you have the driver's welfare. So we got their leadership. We are not responsible for union matters, but we told the unions the state government is going to organize this collection, collect it in conjunction with the local government, and at the end of the day, come to a round table and give to each group what belongs to them. And what goes to the state goes to the state. So that's what we are doing. It's a very organized system, very sanitized. The leadership of those unions give certain persons to monitor the process and ensure that their members comply and that there are no illegal collection of revenue. But substantially, the ERS is the overall coordinator of revenue collections in the state, in conjunction with local government revenue heads in areas where some of those revenue collections fall under the purview of the various local government councils.
So they also mentioned, and all of this is on the security, they also mentioned that some of these members of the Edo State Security Corps are also now at the grassroots level, and that the issue of community development levy for people who are building houses, it's back, and that, real estate developers and just ordinary Benin's who are trying to build their homes are also now being harassed with the community development levies.
No, that is not the case. That used to be very rampant and obtainable under the last administration, the Obaseki administration. I know that the state made a lot of efforts to sanitize the system. And when we came in, we maintained that system. We never tampered with the system that was in place. There are no non-state actors acting and collecting levies, development levies. That is not the case. We have not appointed anybody, and we have not tolerated non-state actors going about collecting development levies. The state already has a position on it, and we are maintaining the status quo. And there are a lot of things that are indicative that the system we have brought on board is really working. If you look at the figures of the revenue generated, just last month in January, you will see that for the first time ever, the state was able to hit 2 digits in revenue generation. Before now, the highest that the state ever did in internal revenue generation in the last administration was made in January of 2024, and that was about 8 billion. But this January 2025, under Governor Monday Okpebholo, the internally generated revenue was able to hit 10.9 billion. For the first time, it became 2 digits because he brought in very seasoned administrator. The chairman of the ERS, Otumba Bankole Balogun, is doing a wonderful job, and he's putting the right structures and system in place to sustain this revenue drive and continue to drive it up.
I want us to, because of time, I want us to get into, I know you mentioned Shine, but I'm going to jump health. Probably if we have enough time, we'll come back to it. But I want us to move to infrastructure and also get what, give us an update and assessment on how well you think the governor has done in that regard.
Oh, yes. The very first day he was inaugurated, the governor, he had very clear ideas and a very clear map of what he wanted to do, because he's a grassroots man and he has been doing this for years, even before he contested for governor. So he knew the flashpoints in terms of infrastructural decay. One of those flashpoints was the Benin-Ekpoma axis. And this was a place that the former governor used to shift responsibility to the federal government. In fact, it was so melodramatic that he creates a very big billboard and put it on the express and say, this is a federal government road, please bear with us, there's nothing we can do about it. But when Governor Okpebholo came, he took responsibility as a leader, a visionary leader that he is, and told himself 90% of those who use this road are Edo people. I will have to talk with the federal government, engage them, and fix it. And so that is what he did. As I speak to you now, that all the flashpoints and the fade sections on that road have been fixed, and motorists are using it. This is a road sometimes you spend 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours for a journey that would have taken 1 hour or 40 minutes. But those who are applying the road can now testify that from Benin to Ekpoma is less than it's less than an hour. It's a smooth ride. And this he accomplished in 100 days. That's remarkable. And then he has commenced about 13 new road projects, in addition to some other ongoing roads that are very beneficial to other people, which he inherited and revived from the previous administration.
And can you just list some of those road projects for us? Yes.
Of course, the first one we would list is the creation of the flyover. This is the first flyover ever, in the entire state that he boldly and ambitiously commenced, and the work is going on very smoothly to decongest part of the city centers, especially a notorious area called Ramat Park roundabout. And then you have the Ikua-Temboga axis. It's a very strategic road that leads those coming from Edo North. Instead of going through the city, you can take, from Ramat Park and go all the way to University of Benin and then bypass the city center. And so these roads were meant to decongest the city center. Then you have the Upper Ekewa, road. It's a road that goes all the way and links up about 3 or 4 local governments. And then if you come to Edo Central, he has initiated a lot of roads within Edo Central. There is the Ekoma, Irua, Uwesan, all the way to Agbede Road. In fact, this is a road of about 32 kilometers that is going to connect about 2 senatorial districts. So you can move from one senatorial district to another without even taking the expressway by the time it is completed. And work is going on intensely, and they are at various stages of completion. All this within the first 100 days. There are several others, that has been initiated. We have a list of them that we are going to be unveiling on Wednesday when we mark the 100 days. All
right, so I will stay on roads, but I want to first of all, because I know that there are some roads in Edo State that are especially within the Oredo and Ego local government area, they're perhaps in deplorable condition, and I will come to that. But I also wanted to give you the reaction of the PDP to some of these roads, because we saw the governor on an inspection tour to some of these roads. The PDP says the Benin-Ekpoma Road is not financed by the governor. They say that that's a Boa Cement finance project. And they also say, I think it's a Benin-Sapele Road is a federal government project. And I just wanted to get your reaction to those statements as well.
Well, I guess they are talking out of ignorance. This road is a long stretch, and so it is divided into various sections. What I mentioned is the Benin-Ekpoma axis. I am not talking of the Okpebholo-Ekpoma axis. What the Boa Cement is doing is coming from the Okpebholo axis down to Ekpoma. What the governor is doing, which is a project we initiated, made procurement process for, is rehabilitation of Faith section from Obada Junction, that is from the Benin bypass flyover, all the way to Iruekpen and even the Ekpoma. We are just stopping right at the AAU University gate, where the BOA that is coming from the Edo North axis is also stopping. So, and be that as it may, even the BOA construction was also attracted and facilitated by the executive governor. I mean, if it's a federal government project, why was it not done under the last administration? That was because of the frosty relationship. The past government didn't have the initiative to engage and network with the federal government to attract some of this. So the governor, even before he was sworn in, met the president, met the Minister of Work, lobbied to have this intervention that BOA is doing even at once. So you can actually attribute it to the executive governor of Edo State and other leaders within the state, including Senator Adams Oshomole. So what BOA is doing is as a result of the intervention of the executive governor. And then the path from Benin to Ekpoma is direct project initiated by the executive governor. And it has now been completed.
All right.
And it's part of what will be
I am trying to,
commissioned
Mr. Hill, I'm trying
Wednesday.
to manage time. But I also wanted to ask you about inner roads within, because Edo State, I understand, has a very good network of roads. I mean, most of them are not major roads. But some of these roads are now in deplorable condition because of flooding majorly. And you find that people who live in those areas are moving out of their homes because they are being disturbed by floods. Is that something that the governor is looking at? And I can mention some of these roads, but because of time, is that something that the governor is looking at in terms of fixing some of these inner roads?
Surely we understand that problem, and that's something the governor is looking at. If you remember, during the campaign, the governor was at the GRA, Government Reservation Area, and this is supposed to be the most urban and a very sophisticated area of Benin City, but it was flooded because of lack of a drainage system. Under the administration before the previous one, under Comrade Adams Oshomole, he created a special fund for stormwater to decongest, the flooding problem in Benin. But the last administration did not continue that initiative. So the flood was becoming a big problem, lack of drainage, even within the GRA. So within the GRA, you have a lot of roads that were eroded by erosion. And so what we are doing is to revive some of these stormwater projects, and that is part of what the executive governor is looking at.
All right, so let's now move to education. I'm taking them one after the other, and then we'll also look at the governor's administration as well. Let's look at education. I mean, we've had videos, and clips from the past about the state of classrooms in Edo State. Sometimes is quite, it's disturbing to see the condition in which, students are learning. What has the governor done in terms of infrastructure, in education?
Yes, I mean, the very first week he came into office after his swearing in, the executive governor made a tour of the entire schools within certain senatorial district. And what he found was very shocking, that despite so much PR and propaganda about Edo Best, the state of infrastructural development in education was in very deplorable condition. I mean, there were schools like in Amagba community, there is a school, Oroma Primary School, where 2 classes are combined in a single class. Primary 1 and 2 will be put in one class, 2 and 3 in another class, 4 and 5 in another class by one teacher because of lack of classrooms and lack of manpower. That's in one of the biggest local government and one of the most sophisticated local government in Edo State. We are not talking about the interiors. So we had schools like this in Oredo, in Okpebholo, in Ego. And the governor taught them and immediately gave an instruction that they should be rebuilt and construction should commence. And some of these schools have been completed. They are part of what is also going to be formally commissioned on Wednesday. So the whole project about Edo Best by the last administration, like we keep saying, was a scam. And there's a reason. We are not just saying it was a scam for a reason. It was a scam because a lot of money, $75 million, went in, but there was nothing to show for it. In fact, if you use different KPIs, key performance indicators, and measurement statistics, if there is the Universal Basic Education ranking that is made every year by the Universal Basic Education. Go and look at the ranking of Edo State under the UBA ranking in 2016 when Obaseki took government. Edo State was number 9 position. In 2020, 2 years after he started implementing the Edo Best program, Edo State dropped from number 9 to number 11. And in 2022, it dropped from number 11 to number 13. So the more money he was accessing from the World Bank and poured into the so-called Edo Best, the more deplorable our standard and our ranking was coming down.
Some of these allegations, cannot be verified. But as much as you are saying that the past administration,
yeah, it's there for verification. You can check it out.
You are berating the past administration, but 2 things you have said so far is that you have retained their revenue collection mechanism as well as the policies they made in terms of the community development levies. At least you have admitted that in those regards they did something right. But I also I'm staying on education because the allegation again coming from the opposition party is that you have now inaugurated a governing council for Ambrisali University where there used to be a special intervention team. But that some of the lecturers that were sacked, for extortion from students, asking for sex for marks, fraudulent activities at the bursary, that you have now brought those students, those lecturers and staff back without a proper investigation and probe of why they were let go in the first place?
No, that's completely false information. Another very false propaganda from the PDP. With respect to Ambrisali University, what the governor did was to practically rescue the university from the brinks of collapse. That was what was supposed to happen. I mean, in another year or two, the university would have been shut down from the state it was. Medical students, for example, belonging to that university have not been able to get induction. There are those who have been in the College of Medicine for about 10 to 15 years. Why? Because of lack of accreditation. The accreditation was withdrawn by the Medical and Dental Council. Recently, the governor has been able to get about 128 of those students inducted after engaging with the Medical and Dental Council and putting certain infrastructures in place and demonstrating his will to revive the university. So the first thing he did was to increase the subvention from the 41 million that the former administration was giving the university to 500 million. That's over 1,000%. And then the SIP was just another mechanism, a group of consultants. They are not the governing council. So the governor avoided to inaugurate a governing council that is supposed to be in charge of the university and then was running it with a so-called kangaroo SIP. And we had to tell those ones to go because they were a group of consultants and they were receiving even more money than what was allocated to the entire university, those group of SIPs. So we have inaugurated a governing board. The governor has inaugurated a governing board, and things are back in shape. And the students are happy, the lecturers are happy. And what we did with recalling
So, Mr. Hilo, I have to put you on a break.
Who were
Apologies.
illegally dismissed.
I do have to put you on a break. Put you on hold rather.
No problem.
We need to go on the break. I have one or two more questions to ask you when we return from the break. Stay with us. We've been speaking with the Secretary to Edo State Government, Umar Musa Hilo, just looking at the 100 days of the Governor Okpebholo administration. We'll take a break now and return to that conversation in just a moment. Stay with us.
Say this big bull bag of rice no get the new big bull holographic seal.
Not true.
Introducing the Big Bull Holographic Seal Tape, your favorite authentic Big Bull rice, 50 kg and 25 kg. Now with holographic seal tape. This is to ensure you get the premium product from Big Bull Rice. Do not buy if the holographic seal tape is not on the bag or is broken. Big Bull Rice. Tasty rice nourished you.
All right, thank you for staying with us. You're watching Standpoint. We've been speaking with the Secretary to Edo State Government, Umar Musa Hilo, on the 100 days in office of Governor Okpebholo. And just, to touch on, he was speaking on education. But, many will say, and, Mr. Hilo, thank you so much for staying with us. I know you've touched on education, but just before we let you go, I wanted to look at this issue. And one of the things that people sort of criticized the administration of Governor Basaki for was how he ran, or how the legislature ran under him. But we're also now seeing cracks within the administration of the governor of Okpebholo, where the Attorney General has been of the state has been suspended, along with someone who also handles something around local government commission. Isn't that too early? And the governor is also running on just about 5 commissioners.
Okay, very quick redirection there. We have 9 commissioners in place currently, and not 5. When he came in, he immediately, I think that was the fastest that happened, he immediately appointed some key commissioners as well as the Secretary to State Government and the Chief of Staff to get the government running. The last administration, when they came in 2016, took 9 months to appoint commissioners and to form cabinet. But the governor has put his cabinet in place, the quorum has been formed, and the government had the Executive Council meeting this week on Wednesday, and the state of business is going on. As you referenced the suspension of the Attorney General and the chairman of local government, Edo State Local Government Service Commission, that is based on standard practice. It's not indicative of any crisis, and nothing is too early. In fact, it demonstrates the governor's commitment to transparency and accountability, so that when there are allegations that needs to be answered, he requires the officer in charge to step aside for a while those allegations are investigated by a panel. And if they are cleared, they are either recalled or told to permanently step aside. So for now, it's just a suspension that is being looked into. There is a panel looking into it. And in a week or two, they should make recommendations to the executive governor. So everything is very much in order, and all the commissioners are working very well to achieve the agenda of.
And is the governor going to appoint more commissioners?
Of course, he will do that in due course. For now, he has more than enough to work with, more than what is even required for the quorum for ESCO to meet. And so ESCO is meeting, decisions are being taken, and critical sectors are functioning optimally.
And the tussle around the local government chairmen, whether they should or should not stay in office. Some also raised eyebrow over that, saying that, look, it was a breach of the recent law that was enacted by, or rather, the breach of the recent law that we saw the judgment coming from the Supreme Court.
Yes, that is a subject of litigation now. Some of them are still in court, and some of the issues also overtaken by other events. I think it also comes down to the governor's direction, of ensuring transparency and accountability in terms of even the use of local government fund. Not that the state wants to use that fund, but the state has a right, considering that it is given that power under Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, for the supervision, composition, and administration of local government councils. So the state has a right to ask questions about the use of those funds, and that's what happened.
Mr. Okpebholo, I know that you have inauguration of projects on Wednesday. We'll continue to follow through with the policies and projects of this administration, and as necessary, we'll speak to you from time to time. Thank you so much for your time. Secretary to Edo State Government, Umaro Musa Hilo.
Welcome. Thank you. I appreciate